This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon. Let's call this board meeting together. May I have you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Good. Yeah, very good. Darlene, would you do a roll call and establish the quorum and do the homeowner statement, please?
Barbara Fugelberg,
I'm here.
Ron Woodward,
Here.
Marilyn Sorensen,
Here.
Lisa Paulson,
She has an excused absence.
okay, Marie Beschen,
Out of breath, but here.
Steve Deal,
Present.
Roberta,
I'm here.
homeowner
Thank you.
statement period. In person, speaker may speak for no more than 2 minutes. If attending virtually, please mute your audio. Please use the chat option for your questions. Comments should be addressed to concerns of the motion before the board takes formal action on an item under formal discussion on the table. Negative comments directed at residents, employees of the association, or board of directors will not be allowed.
Thank you very much. The first order on the agenda is approval of the meeting minutes from the January 12th, 2023 Board of Directors meeting. Can I get a motion, please? Can I get a second? Any questions, comments, corrections from any member of the board? And Roberta, I know you're online. I can't see a picture of you, but if you do want to speak, if you could just nudge one of us somehow. And seeing none, is there any comments, corrections from any member of the audience? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes from the January 12th, 2020 Board of Directors, please raise your hand. I heard your hand go up, Roberta. Thank you. Passes. Next thing on the agenda is for our accountant, Donald Berg, from Homeco, to give us a financial update.
Good afternoon. As of December 31st, 2022, the cash balances were in the operating 845,376, in the reserve 4,145,922, in activities $249,071, in the food or chuck wagon prior to this year was $10,310. The clubs, $140,298, and the asset improvement, $861,033.
Thank you. The next thing on the agenda is the approval of December 2022 financial reports. Can I get a motion?
I so move.
Second?
Second.
Any questions or comments regarding the financials that reported for December 2022 from any member of the board? Seeing none, is any members from the audience? Oh. Here we go. Okay. So Roberta, they just brought me a laptop so I can see you. So if you need to make a comment, just go ahead and raise your hand, okay? So again, any comments from any member of the audience here regarding the financials for December 2022?
Have you got that on speaker?
Yeah.
The thing is, I had trouble with that. They changed it. It must have changed it with the last phone update.
Okay, all right.
Where does it say speaker?
So all in favor of approving the December 2022 financials, raise your hand. Passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Next thing on the agenda are the committee reports. There's nothing right at this moment from the Budget Committee. The next is the Building Grounds and Maintenance Committee. We have a committee member approval. Can I get a motion?
Move to approve the application from Glenn Young for, excuse me, building and grounds.
Great, thank you. May I get a second?
Second.
Is Mr. Young here by any chance? One of those things that I know the name and I was hoping to put a face to it. So any comments from any member of the board regarding their application that's in our packet? You see that he's got 30 years of construction, road building, et cetera, in Washington, Alaska, and North Dakota, and he's user of the gym and the pool and plays cribbage and enjoys Happy Trails. Any comments from any member of the board?
Just one additional comment. We still have one position on PGM that we'd like to fill. So if we have any folks interested in that, particularly if we had somebody with some architectural or engineering background, would be really helpful.
Perfect. That's great. Any other comments from any residents regarding the application of adding Glenn Young to the BB&M committee? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, Glenn, you're committed. Okay. The next thing on the committee is from a report from our golf court liaison, Lauren Hansen. Is Lauren here? We liked it better when you were up close, but now you're all pretending, what is it, you're Presbyterians or something? I don't see him now. So in essence, this is a report from, we don't need a motion on this. This is a report that Jason put together in his conversations, excuse me, that Lauren put together in his conversations with Jason McKinney of the golf course and with Ron. So do you want to give us some highlights of it?
Well, basically, the first thing was we closed the issue on that dirt pile and asphalt, the storage areas by the golf practice tees, closed out that issue. And then we talked to him about some of the residents that have complained about him not spraying the weeds, and he said he would try to do a better job of that. And one of the things that we really need to take to him is this issue over here on the 16-17 crossover, where it floods the street out here every time. Where it floods the street every time it rains. And we looked at it very closely the other day, and it's simply a matter of cleaning out the ditch. And it's his issue to clean out that ditch. And I think that as soon as that's done, we won't have that problem anymore. But it's gone on and on and on for way too long. And I think that's about it. We did bring up a couple of other minor issues, but his main sticking point is that the people that are along the golf course have been allowed to creep out onto his property, and he would really like to see us work together to try and get those property lines straightened out. I don't think you're going to see him aggressively building any walls anytime soon, but he could if he decides to. There are things that irritate us, there are things that irritate him, and we want to make things work as well as they possibly can between us and him, because we need to live together as neighbors.
Thank you. I see from the notes that you and Lauren submitted, or Lauren submitted, that you've asked Jason to email Happy Trails regarding any issue regarding potential building of that pony wall that he mentioned briefly, so that we'll have the ability to inform the residents of when he has the next step. Okay, thank you very much for that. The next thing on the agenda is we don't have any club updates. We don't have any old business. but we got a bunch of new business. So the first thing on the agenda is the approval of the 2023-2024 annual budget. Can I at least start with a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, so and I'll second that. The motion is to approve the 2023 fiscal year Happy Trails operating budget as presented. The dues for the upcoming year will be in the amount of $204.91 per lot, and the villas will be $232.51 per lot. We've got information in our packet that spells out how this is broken down. So what I want to remind the residents that in the CCNRs under 5.3.3 for your reading pleasure on page 15, it does talk about the ability, how a board can increase dues on an annual basis. And the limit is up to 6%, or if the cost of living has gone up, we can do the same amount of the cost of living. So this year, the cost of living, as all of us know from our own personal accounts, in the Phoenix area went up 9.5%. So our CCNRs would allow us to increase our rates by 9.5%. The budget committee worked very hard at every single line item in the budget and made changes both up and down based on realistic projections. One of the beauties of how they did it this year is it wasn't just an overall increase of 6% in every single line item. They really looked hard at making decreases in many of the budget items and only increased those items that really needed to be done. And one of those was that the potential increase of making sure that our salaries for our Happy Trails employees have the ability
That's
to
as
have
low as mine goes. What is with this?
pay increases. We should just put her on the board, then, don't you think? Anyway, as a result, and let me back up too, because budgets are confusing for many people, and even for those of us that live and breathe it. In our budget, there is a base rate, which includes the operating fund, and then also the reserve fund. That's the amount that we can increase by 6% or by the cost of living. The pass-through is something that we cannot, we can pass through the entire cost that the city of Surprise charges us for sewer and stormwater. So the actual increase will be 8.7% of what it was last year, and that's equivalent to about $200 per year. They increased the operating and the reserves by 9.5%, but there was no increase in any of those other portions, and that then brings it down to 8.7%. That sounds like a lot to many people, but that is less than $200 a year, and that $200 is to assure that we can attract and retain our personnel, as well as equally important to assure that the infrastructure, the amenities, and the community aesthetics contribute to the value of your home, and that's the primary responsibility of the board. So that 8.7% is, for those of us that are U.S. citizens and who get Social Security, that's equivalent to what we received in our Social Security increase this year. So I really want to commend both Becca, our treasurer, our management team for really diligently looking how they can decrease costs, and for the budget committee for doing the work that they've done on the upcoming budget. So any other comments from any member of the board? Concur with the above?
Well, the one comment is that we've been operating at about 20% going into reserves. And as a result of that, over the past half dozen years that I'm most familiar with, we've had to have increases, assessments, all kinds of other things to take care of the infrastructure work that we had begun several years ago. And that increasing to 25%, it appears as you add the numbers up year over year and expenses year over year, the reserves will build much closer to that 40, 50, 55% that all of the folks that we've listened to over the past years say the reserve should be. So we're trying to get those built up, and this will help us do that.
Thanks, Steve. Go ahead, Ron.
Another thing that I think we need to keep in mind is that we've added a little bit to our management staff this year. And just like everybody else, if you want to keep good staff, you have to consider raising their salaries as well. That would be landscaping and housekeeping and our security folks. We've lost a fair amount of security people over the years simply because of schedules and salaries. We did make some raises a couple of years ago to our security people and our landscaping people and maintenance people. We need to do it again. We need to keep up because that 8.5% that we got in Social Security was to try to keep our noses above water, but they need to keep their noses above water too. And so we just need to keep up with it. We need to keep working at it.
Good point. The other thing I want to mention, that if anyone wants to see it, I did have tracked our dues from 2005. And between 2005 and 2015, our dues went up a total of $15. So like $1.50 a year. Didn't even keep track of cost of living at that time. And it was because boards that are relatively new, and remember, we just got away from being developer owned in 2005. Initial boards typically are uncomfortable raising rates, thinking that they're not going to need that much money in their reserves. And so all boards in any HOA get in the habit of not increasing the dues when in fact they really should have been. And that's not just Happy Trails. That's all boards have had that problem. So we've been playing catch up really. And so the cost of living increases does give us an opportunity to increase our bottom line. And one thing that we have been advised by Associated Reserves, which does our reserve accounts, is that we really need to increase the amount that we're contributing every month, and that we previously had only been contributing at 20%, and they've been on us for years to increase that to at least at 25 to 30%. So this gives us an opportunity. So instead of $75,000 a month going into our reserves, to over $96,000 a month going into reserves. And as a result of that, we'll have more money available in the future to maintain everything that we need to be maintained here. And that goes hat and glove with your cost, with the affecting the value of your home.
The only thing I can add is that this was a really tough job. It was my first opportunity, I'll use that term lightly, to sit on this budget process. And, you know, it's our job to be fiscally responsible, to spend your money and my money on what needs to be done. And we look at all the different things that need spending on, roofs and roads that aren't pretty, but cost of them goes up and up and up every year, and yet they need to be done. We want to make this resort beautiful. It costs money. We want all of our properties to look beautiful. It costs money. And every single item that we went through, item by item by item, hour after hour after hour, and everything went cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. And I kept going, oh my gosh, how many millions of dollars all this costs. And it affects every single one of us. It affects me, it affects Barb, it affects every single person in this resort. But and unfortunately, eggs at the grocery store, every single price tag kept going up. We've all seen it. And if we don't do something about it today, it's going to cost twice as much tomorrow, as we've seen this happen. So we really felt like we needed to jump on it and do it now, because in 2024, it's going to be cost twice as much.
Thank you. Bill, Powell, did you have anything to add? All right. So Roberta, did you have anything to add? Apparently not. Any comments from the residents? Do we have? Yes. The 204, thanks, I have to get back to that page, 20491. For those of us who do not live in the villas, and the villas will be 232.51. Theirs ends up being a little under 8% because the landscaping fee is not increased there. Question in the back, please go ahead and your name.
Lisa
and-
Day, 1317. I have two quick questions. One is, did the residents, as residents, did we get a copy of the annual budget so that we can have discussion about it? Or
You
did I
will.
miss it?
No, you will. That's part of this process. Once we get it approved, and then it's,
But we don't have an opportunity to look at it before so we can have discussion?
you have an opportunity to attend the budget meetings.
That's not what I'm asking. You're asking us to have discussion about something you're making a motion on, and we haven't had a chance to look at it to provide discussion. That's all I'm asking,
Okay.
that question.
All right. You have not received a copy of it, no. Would you like a copy of it? Can we?
I think all homeowners should have a copy of it.
Well, after it's approved, then we submit it. That's the legal connotation that once it's approved by the board, then all members will be given a copy of it. And what you can have a discussion on is this specific things here about the amount that we're approving.
Okay,
The actual conversation about any specific line item, in my opinion, has taken place at the budget committee.
all right, well, I'm going to try one other question then, see if I can go somewhere with that. In lieu of the $7,500 expense that the homeowners have had to incur for the recall, I'd like to make a request to the board that should there be a recall situation in the future, that our governing documents are amended to include wording that mandates that the losing side cover the HOA expense so that we as residents are not fiscally responsible. And unless I've missed something, we're paying $7,500 or more out of our operating budget. Is that correct?
Well, if Roberta was not retained, if she did not win the recall, then there would be a second election, and that's what had brought it up to the 7,500. So there's costs associated with the mailing and costs associated with our employees' time related to that. So I understand what you're asking is that our governing documents be revised to, in the event that it occurs again, that there'd be a recourse for recouping those dollars.
That is correct, from the losing side.
Okay, that's something we'll check with legal that if we're able to do. Currently, we follow the regulations that are set forth in Arizona state statute
I
on
understand.
how any recall needs to occur. And those are the things that we cover. There's nothing in there that states anything about reimbursement for any of the costs associated with it.
Okay, I do believe at the last, it wasn't a board meeting, but the staff had said that we were up to $7,500 in costs, and it would go up beyond that if we had to do another vote. So can you tell us what the number is that we have spent on this, since we're
Well,
talking about budget?
That's, okay. Darlene, can you do this? It's not part of the motion, so we're not speaking to the motion, but could you just answer the question?
Sure. The cost with the staff time and the dollar amount is approximately about 6,000 right now. And now that it's over, it should not be any additional expenses.
So what the motion on the table is approving the budget for 23, 24. And so are there any comments from any residents regarding the motion on the table?
Call the question.
So the motion on the table is to approve the, sorry, I jumped ahead here. Approve the 2023, 2024 fiscal year Happy Trails operating budget as presented. The dues amount will be in the amount of $204.91 per lot and $232.51 per villa lot. Again, since it's a dollar amount, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Ron Woodward,
Yes.
Becca Paulson, she's absent. Marie Beschen,
Yes.
Marilyn Sorensen,
Yes.
Steve Deal,
Yes.
Roberta Ernest,
Yes.
Barbara Fugelberg.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Thank you. So we'll also be sending out information relative to it, breaking down the rationales behind it and where the specific increases were. The next thing on the agenda is an update on the long-range planning working groups. So the other day there on Tuesday, what day is it? On Tuesday, we had the working group sessions led by Wendy Halson, our consultant, who's driving the long-range planning process for us. There were about 50 of the residents who participated in the process. There were about 6 working groups that looked at things relating to infrastructure, appearance of happy trails, communication, and a number of things. And the good news is that Wendy, in another community close by, actually had to give a little talk on civility, and she did not have to do that with this group. She said we were of the top 2 communities that she's ever dealt with. She felt it was the most engaged group with it and came up with some really good ideas. As a result of the work that was done at the working groups, Wendy is going to take all that and she's going to be putting it in combination, a report that combines the results of the survey that was done this past summer, the results of the focus groups that occurred early in January, and also the working group to come up with a plan of how we would be moving forward as a community, taking all that information in place. That information probably will be available in June or so, depending upon when she can finish it and compile it. She does have very much of a template in place of a report that she uses to communicate to other communities that she's done. So it's not like she's starting from scratch. As a result of that, then the information will be disseminated to everyone in this community. It will be available on our website. And then this fall, we'll actually be working on developing committees, long-range planning committee and that kind of stuff, based on her recommendations on how we're actually going to be moved forward to implementing that plan. Are there any questions from any member of the board or any residents about the process? For those of you who participated in any part of it, whether it's finishing the survey and or participating in the focus groups or participating in the working group, we all really want to thank you very much for it. It was a lot of really good information and a lot of highly energized communities. So it's truly going to be resident-driven long-range plan. Thank you. Next thing on the agenda is the approval of the 2023 asphalt work. One of the things I want to do first is I will make a motion to approve taking $200,000 from the asset improvement fee to cover the costs, cost that will be exceeded in the 2023 asphalt work. Can I get a second?
Second.
The purpose of the asset improvement fee, as you know, collects money from home sales, and it can only be used for specific items. One of the things the primary thing it is used for is if the reserve, the amount allocated for a reserve item in our reserve study says maybe that's $500,000 and the bid comes in at $600,000, the asset improvement fee can be used to supplement that, the $100,000. We'll be talking in just a second about 3 proposals for asphalt for this next year. And we know that already they're going to be coming in exceeding any amount that was initially allocated in the reserve study. So we feel that using the asset improvement fee, taking $200,000 out of it is appropriate. We've received in that account over $1 million. We currently have was $861,000 in it. So we're comfortable taking that out. Any comments from any member of the board?
Specific to this motion, it is gratifying that the reserves don't get hit for every dime of what we're doing. Also a reminder to residents that out of the operation budgets, the last 2 years, we have transferred a total of $600,000 from operations to reserve. So whatever we end up being able to bid and accept bids on year over year, we have just gained $800,000 that we didn't have a year ago at this time.
Thanks.
Without a special assessment, which we've had to use in past years, so that the next 3 motions are going to be for bids for the board to allow us to go out to bid And then the board will accept those at the next meeting. We hope we have bids. So those three kind of go together, but it's kind of nice to be able to say that year over year, we're not going to hammer the reserve fund, and we're still going to get a lot of asphalt put down and a lot of sealant put down and a roof or two taken care of, we hope, over that without being hit. So our year over year is going to get drawn down maybe 500,000 rather than $1.5 million. So that's real money in my world. I hope it is in yours too.
Thank you. Any comments from any residents about taking $200,000 out of the asset improvement fee and putting it into the costs of the asphalt? Marilyn has a question.
What is Marilyn Klein, Lot 392? What areas are in the contract?
We'll be talking about that in just a second. We have 3 motions coming up that will be asking for bids on the various sections. So we'll be speaking to those then.
Well, my one question is the Cascades going to be in there? It should have been done when they did Dale Evans, and I drove over that yesterday,
Yes,
and it looks like it's milled already, but it doesn't ride very slow.
yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Yes, it will. Thank you.
Are there bids already in for the pavement?
No, those are the motions that'll be coming up next. The
So-
motions coming up next are us to request that we go out for bids.
So are we taking a certain percentage out of the emergency asset?
We're taking $200,000.
So how did we come up with the 200,000? I mean, if the paving was $100,000, we wouldn't be taking the 200 out?
We believe that we really can only comfortably take $200,000 out. We're very comfortable in feeling that all of the bids that are coming up will need that $200,000, that the amount that is stated in our reserve study is significantly less than what the bids will come in at. So the $200,000 will supplement the amount that's in the reserves.
Yeah, I understand that you're drawing out 200,000, but I was wondering how you came about that figure if you don't know what the bids will be.
It was really the amount that we're comfortable removing from the asset improvement fee. We get just under, on average, $300,000 a year. So we didn't want to pull out a full year's worth, but we felt it was appropriate feasible to do at least 200,000.
Thank you.
Any other questions from any resident? And Mike, I'm assuming you're watching the chat?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, seeing none, we'll call for the motion. The motion is to approve, we move to approve $200,000 to be used from the Asset Improvement Fund to supplement the costs of the 2023 asphalt work. Again, a dollar amount, so I will call for a roll call vote, please.
Ron Woodward,
Yes.
Becca Paulson is absent. Marie Besham,
Yes.
Marilyn Sorensen,
Yes.
Steve Deal,
Yes.
Roberta Ernest,
Yes.
and Barbara Fugenberg.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next thing on the agenda is the 3 motions related to the potential asphalt work for this summer. So Steve, would you start us out with the motion?
I move to approve the 2023 asphalt work not to exceed 600,000. That first motion is, oh, wait till I get a second.
I'll second.
That motion is for section 2 reconstruction. That's the villas, all of the villas. It is for seal coating in some of the areas that 4 years ago we paved, now need to be seal coated. It's for repair and seal coating of the main lot here at Town Center and it's for rebuilding the asphalt at the Cascades.
And just for clarification, the crack seal and seal coat includes both package 5 and package 10. So it's all of the villas, seal coat and of 5 and 10, reconstruction of the Cascades parking lot, and repair, cracks, and seal coating of isolated areas in the town center parking center. And we believe that that bid could possibly come in at $600,000. Any questions, comments from any board member?
Just a reminder, this is just permission to bid.
Just permission to bid. Okay. Any questions, comments for any member of the community? Just for your information, the Building Grounds and Maintenance Committee does work in conjunction with the Budget Committee, but Building Grounds and Maintenance basically is responsible for, along with our consultant, giving us an idea of coming up with a schedule for how the schedule for the asphalt repair and maintenance of the dollars that we've already spent on these things. So in 2023, these were the things that were anticipated to be done. In 2024, possibly section 4 and seal coating section, reconstruction of 4 and seal coating of 9. In 2025, seal coating the villas, because that would be the time it would need to be done again. And work on section 8 and the Cascades parking lot again. And then 2026, just related to seal coating. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. So any questions from any member of the audience? If you're confused, it took us a while too to get this straight too. So, see. Okay, so this is just to go for bids for the villas, to reconstruct the villas, to do seal coating and crack seal on package 5 and package 10, full reconstruction of the Cascades parking lot and the town center parking lot for isolated repairs. So this is just for a bid and it's not approving the dollars. I'll just ask for a show of hands who all are in favor of the motion to approve, to request for bids for those sections. Raise your hand. Roberta voted yes, so it's up in favor. Motion passes. So the next thing is a bid for another option. Steve?
I move to approve the 2023 asphalt work for an amount not to exceed 630,000.
I'll second. And Steve, how is this one different? So how this differs is that it is to include everything that we already talked about in the first motion, and then the addition of possibly doing seal coating in section 8. So any comments related to that?
I just want to remind people that I've sat up here for about 5 years talking about the end of black gold. We are now within the projects this year and next year, finishing all of the residential streets and all of the boulevards and seal coating and or reconstructing all of the parking lots. Finally, it has been a process that started, I think I saw Jim Manning come in here earlier. It's been a long process and very expensive, but it will be really gratifying to see all of those done. And it will be more gratifying to be able to sit up here and not have to look at $1 million worth of asphalt every year or every other year that we can put into other amenities in the resort. But, you know, it's the old story about how do you eat an elephant? You got to start at one end or the other and just keep going and we're there. Finally, we are there.
Any comments, questions from the residents? Yes.
Speaking of repaving, excuse my ignorance, but I would like to know what they're doing out there on Rogers Roy Rogers Avenue, looks like they're about to dig up the pavement.
Mike, can you speak to that?
Correct. Yes, I can. That's a subcontractor that's working in conjunction with Cox for the new conduit line that was laid in for the cell phone tower. And they're not going to be digging or cutting any asphalt. They're along Roy Rogers right now. They're doing some underground drilling to run a conduit line to the box that they've installed in the corner of the parking lot. So it's all in common area landscape and no asphalt will be cut.
Thank you.
Okay, so the motion on the table is to approve the going out for bids for this package 2, package 5, package 10, Cascades Parking Lot Town Center, and the addition of the seal coating for section 8. So all in favor of asking for the approving this motion? Favor? Aye. Roberta? Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much. So the next one, this will make you suck air. Steve?
It seems like I'm making all the motions to spend all the money.
Well, you're on
I'm not
BGMN.
liking that so much. I move to approve the 2023 asphalt work for an amount total not to exceed $1,300,000.
I'll second that. So this, Steve, is for what?
Well, the real part of this is because of that operations money that's been transferred, because of the asset improvement money, which we just approved a few minutes ago. We would like to be able to bid, we being the BGM committee, send out for bid an additional section. And when those prices come in, then we'll look and see whether we can really do it. The 2 sections that we have yet to have approval to bid for are section 4 and section 8. And we hope that one of those 2 will come within the parameters that we have established and be able to do 2 sections during this season and 1 the next season. And then, as I indicated earlier, we will be done with streets and roads.
So, so this is easy to consider because we are not actually talking about spending the money yet. Based on all these bids at the hopefully they're here at the March board meeting, and the board at that time can make the decision on which of these options they'll go for.
That is correct.
But what I'm hearing from other board members is that it might be prudent for us to pay the additional $700,000 to do a section earlier, one, because it'll get us done sooner. And we may have the dollars available, though it would dip into our reserves a bit. We'd have to be comfortable with that. But that the cost of doing it this year is going to be less than the cost of doing it next year.
Guaranteed. We've never had a year in which the square yard charge of asphalt was less than the year before. Never.
Good. Any other comments from any member of the board? Questions from the audience? I know who the next member of the BG&M committee is going to be.
To sum it up, it sounds like you have a paving budget of about $2.5 million with the 3 proposals that you have just described.
Really, they are separate. They add on to each other. The 600 is one, and then the second one is the 600 plus a 30. And then this last one is the 600 plus the 30 plus the section 4 or 8. So it's cumulative, if you will.
So more like 2 million.
No, 1.3 is what we think the biggest. Total.
And you're only asking to take out 200,000 out of the assessment?
Well, yes, because I'm protective of it, honestly. But at the same token, we have to think of what we might need those dollars for in the future. Whether we've got roofs coming up, and we know that the bids for the roofs have just been significantly higher than what's allocated in our reserve study. and whether we need another building. I mean, there's talk about a new maintenance building, and also we need to figure out how much we need to keep into that account so we've got dollars to pay for new projects in the future.
And through the HOAs and other assessments that you do for people that are buying in here, you have enough money to pay for all of that you have just proposed, except maybe for the 200,000?
That's the hope with the projection that we're getting about $300,000 a year added to that account based on home sales.
Thank you.
One of the things that, okay, yes, Bill.
Income each year to the reserve fund is about $1 million. So if you take $1 million plus the 200 transfer, that's the $1.2 million. So in a year, it generates about $1 million.
Excellent point, Bill. So yes, what we're planning on is that we have, and we've been working in our planning workshops that we have the last Tuesday of the month. The board determined that probably this next year, there'll be 1.1 million added to the reserve account that we could spend, plus the $200,000 brings us to 1.3 million. What the board has talked about in these planning sessions is that we don't want to allocate all the dollars just for infrastructure. And that we know that we also need to
20 people online.
That there are dollars that we need to spend for maintenance of our amenities, such as the courts and that kind of stuff, and then aesthetics, and also some equipment that the clubs need replacement on. So those are the four main categories that we're looking at. And so what the board did in this last budget meeting is, the last planning workshop was talk about the potential dollars that we might need to spend out of the reserve in all of those categories and trying to figure out what our deficit would be. And so based on these bids that come in, then we'll be looking at the spreadsheet that we're developing to figure out how many more dollars we have to spend on amenities and on the aesthetics like outdoor seating and shade structures, which many of you have been asking for, and also for club replacement. So that's that. Any other questions from, we have one right over here. Will?
Good afternoon, Will McNamee, lot 1674. My question may be directed to Mike rather than you, I think. In this past construction of the work that's been done on the roads, I know that there was a couple of areas where the drainage areas that need to be repaired or haven't been fixed yet. Is that part of this process, the cost?
That'll be coming up. Okay. So the motion on the table is to approve requesting the bids for what we previously discussed, but the addition of either section 4 or section 8. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. Next thing on the agenda is a proposal from Frank's Civil Construction in the amount of $16,330,000 to survey package 2 and the drainage in package 6. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
So, Mike, could you give us a little background on this?
Yeah, absolutely. So the $16,330 is our cost to have Michael Franks Consulting come in and do surveying of a couple locations. For the $16,330, they're going to survey our drainage in package 2 prior to reconstruction. That's going to really set us up for proper drainage throughout that location. We are looking, including the valley gutter in the cost for the reconstruction for package 2, the villas. So that this is very important that we get that water to run off in the right direction when we have some new asphalt laid down. We do have a couple concerns along the entries of Sunset That ravine there doesn't drain properly. We have had Michael Franks consulting in to look at that as well. So we want to make sure all that water gets off the road. And we're really preserving the new asphalt once it goes in. So that's part of the cost, as well as package 6. We have a culvert that's located on the corner of Ironwood, and it has been a concern for some time. That water is standing right in that corner, causes some concern with mosquitoes. And we do know that there's some pretty significant issues with that culvert running towards the golf course property. And it also runs under a property and a couple structures on that property. So that's included in that estimate as well.
So it's the 16,330 plus the 6,000 for the other, so around.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, okay, thank you. Now, this is just for actually going out and the consultant giving us a recommendation. It is not for the actual repair of it.
That is absolutely correct.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions, comments from any member of the board?
Once they determine what the problem is, do they make a recommendation as to who should fix it?
So Michael Franks Consulting is the same consulting engineer that we use for the asphalt. So what they would do is they would give us an estimate like they provided us for the asphalt and propose this is what we should do to fix this issue. If we request them to, they will go out to bid for these issues. And there's a possibility, our hopes of getting this all done in conjunction with the asphalt would be that this company that we hire could potentially bid on this as well, so that we could have these areas corrected in the same time frame this summer for the asphalt projects. But they are concerns that will have to be taken care of as well.
And if I read that information that you gave us correctly, they also have a person that oversees this whole thing, that manages it.
Yes, for the asphalt, you meaning that they're overseeing the project for?
Yes, project
absolutely.
manager.
Project manager, absolutely. For the asphalt projects that we will be proceeding with for the new phases, there's a project manager. This would be the same thing if we so choose to use them after they provide us their recommendations.
Okay, thank you.
So we've used Michael Frank Consulting this last year in helping us with the asphalt project. Previous years, we always just managed it in-house. And what I think all of us have learned, and particularly with the guidance of the BG&M committee and with Mike Nice, is that we've had inconsistent results by doing it in-house, hiring someone from the community to assist with that, albeit good. But having Michael Frank Consulting, because we did spend a chunk of change last year to have that, I asked that they evaluate whether we really got our dollars worth out of that. And to a person, everybody felt that we did, because they got assurance that the product that got laid was the appropriate product. They dug down as deep as they should, and the amount of coating that they put on was the exact amount that they did, because they weighed stuff beforehand and after. And it was dollars well spent, and we've not had any problems with the asphalt that was laid this last year. So I'm comfortable moving ahead with Michael Franks Consulting in giving us his expert opinion on what we can do to those drainage issues, get that finalized.
Well, a good example of that is we've been putting seal coat on that every housewife, every woman, every man that walks in a house from the street brought black stuff in with them. For several years, apparently, prior to Frank's Consulting, a product was put on that was able to be thinned by the applier with water. Water and asphalt don't mix. That's why we put concrete drains in the middle and all the other things we did. The product that we use now is weighed at the plant, weighed when the tank goes back to the tank or back to the plant, so that we can determine that we got exactly per square foot the kind of seal that we're paying for. So that's one of the examples that we've gained some things from having Franks on board.
So any questions, comments from any of the residents?
You mentioned the drain on Ironwood. There's also a malfunctioning drain on the corner of Palo Verde and Mesquite. I was wondering if that would be included in your work.
That is, it's included in the specifications here. I
Thank
actually
you.
have an aerial map of it if you'd like to see it.
Thank you.
Any further questions? So the motion on the table is to approve the proposal from Frank Civil Consulting in the amount of $16,330 to survey package 2 and drainage in package 6, and $6,840 to survey package 9, 4, and 1 drainage issues. Roll call vote, please.
Ron Woodward,
Yes.
Becca Paulson is absent. Marie Beschen,
Yes.
Marilyn Sorensen,
Yes.
Steve Deal,
Yes.
Roberta Ernest,
Yes.
and Barbara Fugelberg.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you very much. The next thing on our agenda is to approve the Homeco contract. Can I get a motion to approve?
I move to approve the Homeco contract.
Second.
Thank you. So as you know, we've been managed by Homeco for a long time. We're one of their legacy clients. I like to say we're their favorite client. So we typically, in the past, have signed 3-year contracts. This last year, we let it go, extended another year based on some concerns. But we have a proposal for approving the 3-year contract. What I will do is I'll mention to the residents a couple of things that have changed in the contract over the years. There really is not much substantive change. In 2016, the contract administrative fee was $3,500 per month. In 2019, it was $3,700 per month. In 2023, the proposal is $3,065. One would think that they've cut their rates. In fact, what they're doing is just better allocation of dollars. Prior to that, most of the Homeco employees' salaries were included in that fee. So now they're separating it out, so the specific fee to the organization is there. So $3,065. The payroll and wages for the Homeco employees have gone from $17,178 per month in 2016, and then in 2019 it was $20,609. Currently, the payroll and wages for all the Homeco employees is at $24,332 per month. Now, one would say, oh my goodness, how come we're having so much money there? The result change is that the major changes in payroll is that the DRC and compliance salaries are no longer done in-house. So instead of those dollars going out of the Happy Trails line item payroll, it is now being paid to Homeco. And in fact, there were some savings with that. The administrative personnel are no longer in-house. All of the employees that work in the town center office are now Homeco employees. And there's actually been a decrease of at least 20 hours a week through Darlene's efforts to consolidate staff and better flow of staff of job duties. And then there's the addition of the operations manager that hasn't been in there for a while. So the net change really is about $30,000, but it's mostly just better allocation of dollars, and there really is no direct increase in the amount of outlay we put per month. Any questions from any member of the board? We have discussed this in some executive sessions. Any questions from any member of the community? Yes, we have a question up here. I was going to say you guys are easy, but I know we have to be out of here by 3:30 for happy hour.
Is that a 3-year contract?
Yes, it's for a 3-year contract with the option of extending it a year.
And we also have the escape clause?
We have the same escape clause of a 60-day out that if we don't like the color of their hair, we could tell them to leave in 60 days.
Thank you.
We might, yeah. So. Any other questions, comments from any member? I've worked with the, previous employment of mine, working for over 10 years for an organization that had contract management for hospitals. The benefit of having contract management are many of the things that are invisible to much of the community. The expertise that they provide us is hard to put a dollar amount on. Other services that they provide us is difficult to put an amount on. But most importantly, it is the continuity of the staff, in that any HOA has a community manager turnover of about every 18 months, there's turnover. And the benefit of having a contract management firm is it really significantly decreased that. And one would think, well, that's no big deal. But we all know that anytime there's turnover of staff, the productivity goes down for a long time. You don't get as many things done as you're hoping to get done as you're trying to get people back up to speed. So that's the reason that we value having a contract management and having Homeco as our vendor. So since this is, any other questions from the residents? Seeing none, can I get a roll call vote to approve the Homeco contract?
Can I ask first, if I change up my hair color, who do I have to contact?
Well, yes, I think as we gray or go natural, I think
That's
that
okay.
that's appropriate. But if you go pink or purple, maybe not.
Okay. Ron Woodward,
Yes.
Becca Paulson is absent. Marie Beschen,
Yes.
Yes.
Steve Deal,
Yes.
Roberta Ernest,
Yes.
and Barbara Fugelberg.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. In future executive sessions, when we talk about contracts and that kind of stuff, we will be meeting with Homeco to really delineate some more specific items that don't have a dollar amount attached to them, but areas to make sure we're on the same page of what our expectations are. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is an update on the T-Mobile cell phone tower. Michael, you're up.
So I've received contact from a company was going to be putting in the cell phone tower for T-Mobile in our North Storage. We found in the last inning, the trouble was going to be a previous contract from the cell phone provider that owns the tower in Town Center. Back in the day, from what we understand in contractual documentation, is that they have rights over the majority of our common areas throughout Happy Trails for cell phone towers of the future, I guess you could say. When we sold that property to the company that now owns it, we signed a contract stating that we wouldn't allow any vendors in our common areas. So looking at a map and speaking with this company's attorneys on multiple occasions, it's not going to work in the location that was requested in North Storage. So those 6 RV spaces, I believe it was 6 RV spaces, have been brought back to bringing in revenue. And the discussion from the cell phone company is, where else could we possibly put it? They found one location that would be plausible for them, and that would be on the interior of the maintenance shop walls. The challenge is that that's a large location. They're looking at least a 20 by 30 that would have to be closed off in that location. And none of us really seen this coming. They didn't anticipate this issue until the very end. So unfortunately, it's going to be a challenge to see if that's going to be plausible for us or not.
So what are our next steps then, Michael?
Really, our next steps are going out there and walking the facility with them. Personally, I have a hard time seeing removing that much space from our maintenance shop. I mean, I understand that there could be ambitions to improve that maintenance shop down the road, which would restrict us if we really utilized a lot of that space. But that is really ultimately the only location that would be sufficient for this cell phone tower, legally. You know, there's other locations, of course, that could fit this cell phone tower, but there's a lot of restrictions that fall into this, meaning how close the a residential property may be. So we've really looked into some other locations, but I just don't foresee this working in this scenario. I think we've had some discussion of maybe there was a possibility that they could coordinate with, if it's not going to work for us, they could coordinate with the golf course, where our homeowners could still benefit from the service. Not the association wouldn't benefit financially from this, but they could benefit from the service, as I think that a lot of folks were looking forward to the improvement of the service in this location. So that's still kind of in discussion and understanding. That's a possibility, but that's not really our place to intervene, other than just kind of laying that out there on the table. Maybe that's a possibility, but I just don't foresee with walking that location, taking that much space from our maintenance shop, and utilizing, you know, their storage and things along those lines for a cell phone tower.
So the drawing, the aerial drawing or map that you have in our board packet, that green area looks like it encompasses the maintenance shop, the sawmill, the RV car wash, and the recycling of the plastics in that. Is there any opportunity for us to relocate the recycling down into the other trash area and utilize that spot? Is there not enough square footage there?
It's not the square footage. At that point in time, we're coming too close to a residential home.
Well, we wouldn't be that much closer than we would have been in the RV storage.
Because of package 8
Oh,
up in that
package eight.
corner.
That package 8, I tell you. Hey, is it your house? Steve says he'll sell his house.
We did look into that, as well as the corner over on Ghost Rider. There's a location back there that is common area property. Both locations are too close to residential homes.
Okay, all right. So it sounds like we're not going to be able to do this deal, but we do recognize that it's a service that our customers want. They want better access to T-Mobile service. And so the next step is to get this company to communicate with Jason to see if anything is feasible there.
I think that's a great idea. Everyone could benefit from it at that point in time.
Okay. So any comments from the board? Residents, any comments, questions? The unfortunate thing is that the portion in the contract that was signed for the other mobile site it's one of those really fine lines that you really don't take a look at. The good news, it was none of us up here that signed that, so, or down there. Okay. All right. So the next thing on the agenda is regarding the Hydra Contracting LLC. Can I get a motion? Steve? Have at it, Steve.
Really?
I move to approve the estimate from Hydra Contracting LLC in the amount of $9,514.
Can I get a second?
Second.
So what is this for, Steve?
Fire hydrant replacement and repair.
Okay. So what I see is that the hydrant itself doesn't need to be replaced, but they won't know until they've actually done the repairs. And so if it does not need to be replaced, the cost is going to be just under $6,400. It is a reserve item, and there is currently about $2,800,000 in the reserves for partial replacement of our fire hydrants. So Darlene and Mike, maybe Mike, you know more since Darlene hasn't been here quite that long, but how frequently do we have Hydra Contracting come out?
So we don't have Hydra Contracting out. We have another company that comes out and does an annual evaluation of our fire hydrants, and they really do hold us to the fire on this. The city is, we're responsible for these hydrants, or private hydrants, and the city holds us to that. So they do have to be inspected annually, and we will be seeing some more review of this as we've just recently had these hydrants really reviewed and inspected. Inspected would be the proper word, in depth. So I presume that we will have another additional estimate for you guys moving forward, as we're going to have to do some more long-term work on these hydrants, and come up with more of a dynamic plan to tackle these hydrants, as we have a large amount of them throughout. However, this hydrant is near the villas, and it has been having some problems for some time. It's very important that we get this one working.
Just as a request, can, over the summer, because I know you have nothing to do over the summer, can you summarize for us, give us a little history of how much we've spent on fire hydrant replacements over the years? Because I know sometimes it comes up as a $50,000 surprise. And so if you can give us some history, I'd appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Any questions from any member of the board?
My question is, where is 14th Street?
14th Street doesn't exist. 14th Street is an error. It is an error. 14th Street is an error.
What, it should say Happy Trails and Trigger?
Happy Trails and Sunset.
Sunsets in the villas. Any other questions from the board? Questions from the residents? Is Lauren Hanson here? I don't see him. Does anyone have the application for the BGM committee? We can just hand that gentleman. Great. Sir, go ahead.
This 9,000 approximate is to inspect one hydrant, is that correct?
It is to, a guesstimate is to repair and replace it.
I see.
They won't know exactly how much it's going to cost until they actually do the inspection. If it does not need to be replaced, the cost will be $6,393.
Yeah, that was a figure I wasn't sure of. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Anything else? Seeing none, call for the motion. The motion is to approve the estimate from Hydro Consulting in the amount of $9,514. Again, roll call for dollar amount, please.
Ron Woodward,
Yes.
Becca Paulson is absent. Marie Beschen,
Yes.
Marilyn Sorensen,
Yes.
Steve Deal,
Yes.
Roberta Ernest,
Yes.
Barbara Fugelberg.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. The last thing on the agenda as far as new business is a proposal for a replacement of the stagecoach. Can I get a motion, please?
I so move.
Second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I move that we approve the proposal for the, an easy go in the amount of $20,639.08 for the replacement of the stagecoach.
Thank you. We had a second, correct? Okay. All right. So what I understand, the stagecoach was purchased in around 2016. It was purchased as used. And the purpose of the stagecoach is two things. One, in marketing, in that any person who comes in new to Happy Trails looking to purchase here is given a tour and they're taken on the stagecoach. Currently it's a 6-passenger or a 4-passenger? Is it 6? So it's used for that. We'd like some information if we have anything about the frequency that that's done and how many people have taken advantage of it. But then it is also used every Vendor's Day, definitely, to move people back and forth as they're getting to their parking along the line. And then it is also used by the Pony Express, correct? Does Pony use it also?
Pony has a card. No,
Pony
they
has
don't
a
use
card.
it.
So we understand that we acknowledge this was purchased used, and that the belief is that it's deteriorating and that we've already spent at least $7,000 in repairs to this. So is it busted? It really needs to be replaced, or is could it do with a good overhaul?
I'd like to respond to that.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Blair
please.
Dairy, lot 2263. The Stagecoach has been in operation, I think, for about 7 years. I think I've been doing it for about 5, something like that. Anyway, the
Blair,
stage.
could you put the microphone a little closer to your mouth?
The Stagecoach that we have now was built by a Chinese manufacturing company. They were in business for a little while, and then they went out of business, and we bought that Stagecoach used many years ago. And if we need certain repairs, we will not be able to get the parts because that company's out of business. So it's operating okay right now. The only problem is if it breaks down, say tomorrow, we have to wait for 6 to 8 months to get a new golf cart. And the purpose of doing that now is that if we get the cart now, then we don't have to worry about the one we have breaking down. And the Stagecoach makes a lot of money in the asset improvement fee for Happy Trails Resort. There's so many people that have taken the tour and said, if I hadn't have got the tour, I would have not have bought because I didn't know anything about it. So the only reason we bought in here is because of the tour, and there's several. I have some of our comments from people that have taken the tour, and there's a few of them. We get so many positive comments, and the last one was somebody had taken a tour and didn't seem that interested, and they contacted our driver and said, or somebody told them that they're already back here with a real estate agent looking. And when I took the call from them, they had no intention of doing anything because they hadn't seen it and wouldn't. And now they've had the tour and they're back with the real estate. And that's very common. And there's times when people get off the Stagecoach and go to the real estate office, they want to buy something. And those are people, so many of those people are people that would not have even entertained the thought of purchasing, but now that they've had the tour, they do. Now, we're not responsible for everyone, of course, but we're responsible for a lot of them. So the Stagecoach makes Happy Trails a lot of money for the asset improvement fee. It's $2,100 and some every time one sells. So it's really worthwhile for Happy Trails, and we don't want to get caught where it breaks down, we can't get parts, and now we're stuck, we can't get tours. So anyway, that's where we're at. Any other questions on that?
Go ahead.
Average, how many people do you take at a time? Do you really utilize the 6 passenger?
We can take up to 5 people. And we do need the 6 because quite often there's 2 couples or a family, and sometimes there is 5 people, sometimes there's 4, and sometimes there's 2 people.
Good. Thank you very much. And it's cute. So, so you've said that there's no parts and a delay, there would be a delay in repair. Go ahead, Blair, you have something?
Yes, one more item. With the current Stagecoach we have, maintenance can use that, and what they would do is take the seats out and give them another cart they need to haul stuff around. So and they would use it until it
died.
quits.
Okay.
And there's no resale for it. I was over probably about 2 or 3 years ago looking at golf carts, and I took pictures of our golf cart, and I got the brand and the year it was made and all that stuff. And I asked them about it, and they said, well, go to our person over there and they'll tell you what it's worth. Well, when he looked at the pictures and looked at the manufacturer, he said, we don't want it because we can't get parts for it. So that's the problem with that golf cart. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Blair, and thank you for the work that you do on it. Looks like a good. Yes, they are all volunteers.
Yeah, we don't pay anybody for this.
Do you accept tips, though? No. No, that's great. So where would the funds come? Bill?
Budget was made aware of this about a month or so ago, and we built it into a G&A vehicle fund. We've added $20,000 to that. That was one of the increases we put in. So it is provided for in the new budget.
But wouldn't it go under reserve since it's an asset?
The new one will go under reserves. This old one was never put on reserves.
Okay, all right, so it'd be an expense, operating expense this year, correct? This year or the upcoming year? Upcoming year, okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so the motion on the, any other questions from the residents?
My question was it in a reserve fund? Question is, why isn't it in the reserve fund?
I believe that was an oversight. Bill, can you speak to that? And it was an oversight. One of the things in our reserve fund is, they come every year every 3 years, excuse me, for an on-site review. The other 2 years, it's just done electronically and via phone. But they will be here the end of February or mid-February, and the budget committee and our treasurer and management are going to be really busy at really finessing with them all the items that should come off the reserves based on maybe a different threshold, if you will. And then secondly, making sure all the items that have had an oversight on and not been added, be added to it, or at least updated if there's been a replacement that we didn't allocate for. So our actual reserve study as a result of this on-site thing is going to look significantly different, isn't it? Maybe better, maybe it'll be shifting of dollars. Thank you for that question. Again, sir?
Again.
I'm sorry, I lost your name. Can you give it?
I'm sorry, my name is Frank Paulin. I'm on lot 1513.
Okay, thank you.
First of all, can we get a few specs on this new cart that you're thinking about buying? And second of all, couldn't other entities on the facilities such as the real estate people contribute to that bus or stagecoach?
That's been mentioned. I think that that's a good opportunity. The real estate companies do benefit. In the past, Surprise Realty was the main realtor here in 2005. I'm sorry, what did I say? Who knows, the
I think
Alzheimer's
there's
kicks
4 or
in.
5 at this point in time.
There's multiple there now, but I certainly think that that's a reasonable request to reach out to them to see if they would provide any funding. The actual specs on it,
Number of passengers, et cetera.
it is, it's 167 and a half inches long. And it is it looks 2, 4, 6, 8 passenger, but 6 facing forward and 2 bouncing out the back. It's a 2023 model. What else would you like? Maximum of 1,600 pound load capacity, 8 passenger Samsung Elite lithium drive.
It's a Cushman as well, a Cushman.
Cushman.
I will add that I was going to ask if we'd gotten other bids. I went online and looked at myself because I was curious about additional bids. And everything that I could find came in at exactly the same price.
What's the turnaround time that we would have on this if we purchased it? Holy smokes.
6 to 8 months.
Okay. Right. And we currently lease many of our other golf carts that we have for maintenance and the like, correct?
Oh, and we do have 11 Cushmans that are being leased, yes.
Okay. Is there any advantage to us leasing this?
I don't see an advantage to leasing.
I agree, yeah.
Would it be faster to get a used one? Did we look into, and I don't mean super used, but I mean maybe a year old. Would it be quicker for you to get a used one?
We've looked at that and we've been through that route with the golf carts that we have. It was used when we got it and and we can't get parts for it now, but and the, the companies, the company that owns E-Z-GO and the other company, they only make them as they're ordered. And so we have to order it and it'll take 6 to 8 months to get it.
And Ron just mentioned that it doesn't help our marketing very well if, as you're taking them on a tour, it breaks down and they've got to hoof it back to town center.
No, well, the other thing with the giving tours, the golf cart we have now, the backs, like the 6-seater, the back 2 seats are facing backwards and it's very awkward. We were out doing a little project the other day and Dave Grider, who was our first one to get involved in starting this service, was sitting in the back seat and he got a sore neck from turning around trying to look forward, and that happens to clients we take out. So it, yes, I'm not sure I answered the question that you had.
No, we're good. Good. Thank you, Blair.
I can almost guarantee if it breaks down in the parking lot there, they're not going to walk on over to Surprise Realty and talk about buying something.
Walk over to Traditions.
Barb, this card does also come with a 2-year factory warranty
Yeah, I
as well.
see that. Yeah, I see that. Okay, Roberta has a question, comment? Go ahead, Roberta.
Oh, I'm sorry, I posted it. Have we checked with other locations such as Icon? Area?
Sorry, what was that question?
Have you checked with Icon or other distributors? Because I know Icon makes some big ones like this.
Yes, we are dealing with Pohl, P-O-H-L, golf carts. And no, those are the ones we went to. It's pretty standard for that size golf cart to pay that kind of money. So, and we know they supply, they're supplying all of our lease golf carts. And so we're dealing with them at a pretty high level right now. And that price includes lithium batteries, the windshield, side mirrors, and the wide mirror that goes in front of the driver, and seat belts for every seat. And the back row is also flips down into a deck. We take that golf cart and assign it to the pickleball tournament for the week. And they could probably use 8 seats because they get pretty busy. So we use it there and we use it for vendors days. So there's a lot of uses for that particular golf cart.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? One more question? One more, then go ahead, sir.
Bob Fall, 496. I was one of the early drivers, still am, and with David. At the time they originally, I don't know who remembers this, but at the time they originally proposed this and brought in the stagecoach, someone mentioned realtors, they were opposed. They didn't want us taking people. The developer, when you came to the gate, the developer told you, go over to Surprise Realty and talk to them if you want to go in and see the resort. So that was the reason there's a number of people, just like I was when I came in here in 1999, that I wasn't going to go talk to a realtor, you know. So the realtors are not supporting. We're not supporting, I should say. I don't have any experience with that today, if they would talk differently or about the stagecoach today or not. But I know it's one of the guidelines that we give all the drivers that Blair talks about all the time is we do not promote sales in the sense of we won't intentionally take you around to lots. Right? You're allowed to stop and pick up flyers. And if you know something specifically that you want to look at, Like I had one just last Monday that had a lot that they wanted to look at, and I took them by that lot to look at or pick up a flyer or that kind of thing. But that was a big thing when it started. The realtors were not supportive of the proposal.
Thank you, Bob. Blair, we're going to call for the vote. I think you're going to win here, so go ahead.
Tagging on to Bob's comments, the people don't want to deal with real estate companies when they're having a look, and that's their fear is that, and I assure them that we don't get involved in sales or rentals or anything. So they say, okay, I want the tour, because otherwise they wouldn't come in.
Great, thank you. So the motion on the table is to approve the replacement of the Stagecoach with a proposal of $20,639.08. It's the cost for a 6 to 8 seater passenger plane. All roll call vote, please.
Ron Woodward,
Yes.
Becca Paulson is absent. Marie Beschen,
Yes.
Marilyn Sorensen,
Yes.
Steve Deal,
Yes.
Roberta Ernest,
Yes, yes.
Barbara Kugelberg.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great, thank you. So that's the end of that. So the next is the president's announcements. Got a few things I'd like to say. One of the things that I know that is on people's minds is the status of the chuck wagon. The board, we've heard many of your comments and we've got concerns ourselves. There, particularly the things that we picked up in the we're listening sessions, we've had ongoing discussions with the people that are leasing it. The board is meeting today in executive session to talk about our potential options for that, and that we'll be having more information as we learn as our discussions go on. A couple of the things I wanted to mention is just acknowledging the recall efforts that were undertaken against our fellow board member, Roberta Ernest. And for those of you know that she was successful in being retained on the board. Many people ask us why we as a board remained neutral in it, and we just want to clarify that that is our role. Our role is to support all the members, residents here of the community, support all of our board members, and support our management. And that's something that we can do simultaneously. We are specifically instructed, though, that in the event of a recall, we must remain neutral in that we cannot appear to be interfering with the course of an election. So that's why you saw that management took over that process. It's clearly delineated in the Arizona state regulations and as a result in our CCNRs of the process that we have to follow. There's no requirement of a reason that you can recall any one of us. Again, you can recall me because I don't like the color of my hair or the way that I speak. One would hope that it would be related to specifically for something that we've done that is really a fiduciary issue versus something that might potentially just be a personality thing. But that is what it is. What we just have to do now is that we are pleased with the results and that acknowledging that all of us here and in our community must recognize that the homeowners have spoken and we need to accept those results. So thank everybody who participated in that process, whether you were for or against. We appreciate that you followed that democratic process. I want to talk about one of the things that the board will do at its annual meeting, which is coming up, is that it has to clarify the calendar for all of our board meetings next year, the annual meeting and the board meeting. And I would just like a little show of hands here as the board makes a determination of when our meetings will be next year, is that there's been some comments from people that they would like to see the time of this meeting changed. So of the people that are here, you get to vote because you're here. We just want to do, and how many, and Mike, could you look at the comments in the chat section? Those of you that are online, if you want to comment too. How many of you would like to see us change the time of this meeting? Raise it. Some people are saying in the evening, some people are saying in the morning. So let me give an example of what if we changed, this is just an example, not what we would be doing. What if we changed this meeting, January, February, March, to 4 o'clock in the afternoon? Okay. 7 o'clock. 10 o'clock. That was 10 a.m. Hopefully you're up by then. I may not. Okay, so how many would be in favor of keeping this meeting at the time it currently is? Thank you very much.
I have one for 4 PM, one for no later than 1 PM, and one for 10 AM.
Okay, all right. So appreciate your input on that. Just remind you that next Thursday is we're listening session. We've got, we'll be sending out the information on the exact date and location of that. Also remind people that the next thing that you should be voting on is the annual election for the Board of Directors. Your ballots are due by Thursday, February 16th at 3:30 p.m. 3:30 p.m. There's 7 candidates that are vying for your vote for the 3 openings. If you haven't decided yet who gets your vote, you can get copies of the bios of the 7 great candidates in the mail center. There's also the videos of the Meet the Candidates available on the Neighbor Network. The annual meeting will be February 21st at 1 p.m., in which we'll give a summary of the past year's accomplishments, and then we'll transition into installation of the new board members. And February 28th, the last Tuesday of the month, will be our board planning workshop. And that's the time when we review all the actions that have been taken by the committees that help us generate and prepare the agenda for the next month's board meeting. We anticipate, well, we're hopeful that all of those bids that we've asked for today will be in, and then the board will be talking about which motion might move forward in our spending for our reserves for next year that will be approved by the board on the March board meeting. So the other thing, I just want a reminder that February 14th is the day to tell your loved one how much you love them, but also take time to cherish yourself and cherish your friends. That's the nice thing about Happy Trails, is that we have a lot of friends, and let's think of Valentine's Day as to the opportunity to do that. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Darlene for a management report.
I'm going to have Mike read something to the committee and the audience.
Really quick, I wanted to say thank you for all the support. I'll take this one. Darlene said a lot of yeses and nos yesterday, so we're going to let her voice rest for a moment. But just thank you to everyone that has been understanding through all the ups and downs in the office. We really do appreciate your understanding and your hospitality with us. It makes our lives easier, and we really, really appreciate that from you folks. We're here to work with you and for you, and we look forward to a long future here with Happy Trails. Amy Maxfield is one of our employees here. She's our office administrator / compliance administrator, and we've asked her to write a little something. We're going to be putting it out in the county, but we're going to give you a little thing beforehand, read it off to you. I thought it was really special as she wrote this in a perspective from being outside of the resort, looking at all you folks every day and understanding the dynamic, the short time that she's been here. So I'm going to read this to you. As we look around our beautiful resort, sometimes we stop and take in true beauty of all that surrounds us. From the beautiful mountain peaks to the wildlife, there is so much to appreciate here at Happy Trails. But most importantly, the true beauty here is our residents. As an outsider of the community, we who are employed at Happy Trails get to see things from the inside out perspective. As we get to know the residents who come to see us, and when we're out on the resort, we are able to witness the joyous, honest, and real moments that you experience here in Happy Trails Resort. These times make us realize what Happy Trails really means to you as residents. Happy Trails isn't just an active adult RV resort, it's home. It's where you laugh with friends, make memories, and relax. From the amazing activities, clubs, and shows that are available to the friendly staff who are here to welcome you with a smile and helpful hand, Happy Trails is here for you to be your desert oasis. It's always important to remember the camaraderie that comes to the community. Say hello to a stranger, dance with your neighbor, or help a fellow resident in need. Happy Trails is proud to have all our astounding residents to complete this lively, bountiful community.
Can I ask that Amy and Betsy and Brad come up to the front here? Thank you. Just want to acknowledge the three of you and other members of the team here, that these are the lovely faces that are providing you the wonderful service. Thank you very much. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn? A second? Oh, did you? Okay,
When and how can we expect a timely update on the situation at the chuck wagon for better?
so as I said, we'll be going into executive session right now. After this session, we have a number of things that we need to discuss. But one of the issues that we'll be talking about is connecting with our lawyer to delineate all of our options that we have.
Do you believe this will be a lawyer situation for the next 6 months?
Well, since it's a contract and we need to figure out the thing that, whatever we can do to either rectify the situation or exit without penalty.
Thank you.
Yes,
Hi.
you may.
Hello? Hi, Deborah Schmonk, Lot 1314. Can you tell us whether or not the February 1st payment was made on the lease for the truck wagon?
It has not been received yet. There's a
Okay.
penalty clause in the contract if the payment is late.
Okay, thank you.
One more and then,
Well, Madam Boss Lady, I just want to commend you and the board for all the hard work and hours that you put into serving this group of people. And I hope that I speak for the majority of the people here when I also say thank you to Darlene and Mike and Don and Amy and Betsy. Fantastic job.
you forgot Fred, you forgot Brad. Right to your, Fred, you forgot Brad.
Oh.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.